始まりました。皆さん、こんにちは。平松理恵です。よろしくお願いします。今日はカシアということで、招き入れたいと思います。Hi, Kasia.
Hi, Ria.
Oh, I can't hear you. Yes, great. Yes.
Can you hear me now?
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How about yourself?
I can hear you. I'm good. Well, the weather is better finally.
Yes,
It
yeah.
had been raining all week. Well, same in London?
Yes, I'm in London and the weather hasn't been brilliant, which is a shame because I like getting outside every day and it wasn't always possible. Well, it was, but I don't always enjoy getting wet.
Yeah. I get that. Hang on. People are coming in. Mr. Ogura, hello from Ibaraki, Japan. Oh, hello, Ogura-san. This is my very good friend, Kasia here.
Hi, welcome.
Yes.
Welcome from me as well.
And Mr. Ogura, if I get it right. Oh, yes. And he's a very keen English language learner. I think we've exchanged a few messages on Twitter. So you might get, I don't know, invitation to get connected or
I'll be
stuff.
delighted.
Anyway, wonderful. Because Kasia, you're wonderful. How many languages do you speak? Okay, professional level and also your working languages and others.
So I'm a conference interpreter and I use 3 languages at professional level, which is English, German, and Polish. I also speak French and Spanish. Not as well as my 3 main working languages, obviously, but I can communicate fairly well in French. I make mistakes, but nevertheless, I can communicate. And my Spanish is more basic, but I can have a simple conversation. I understand a lot, and I just keep up my efforts.
Fantastic. I remember there was one time we were working together and we were in Geneva, was it? In Switzerland. I think it was Geneva.
Maybe Geneva or Montreux. I don't remember which city it was, because I know we spent some time in Montreux and then we spent a day in Geneva.
That's right. And anyway, it was in French. And then because I was struggling a little bit to get past, whatever my inquiry was at the shop and then and a restaurant as well, you really helped me. I remember that brilliantly.
Oh, I'm glad. I'm delighted I was able to help.
Great. Thank you. Yes. We are having messages saying hello to all of us. Okay. And we've started, so that's okay, isn't it? So shall we move on to here's the instruction basically though. So as you can see, the audience, I'm addressing to the audience that if you can comment or send through questions for Kasia in English, that will be quicker. But if you couldn't, that's absolutely okay. If you say in Japanese, I'll try my best to convey it to Kasia. That's basically it. It's a paragraph, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, shall we dive in? Move on to the question number 1. Yeah. What's your typical day look like, Kasia?
My typical day, I like my routine. My days may be quite different, but every day starts with a cup of coffee. If I don't get my coffee, I'm a very grumpy person and I'm not great to be with. So I always make sure I have a cup of coffee before I communicate with people. And then usually, obviously now during the COVID crisis, it's a bit different. Usually I'm a conference interpreter, so I travel a lot. At the moment, I'm at home most of the time. So my daughter was lucky enough to be back at school. The schools have opened, so I get my daughter ready for school. She's big enough to walk on herself, but I just have breakfast with her and just make sure she doesn't have toothpaste on her chin or something like that. And then after she's gone, I possibly have a second cup of coffee, check my emails. And at the moment, I'm doing a lot of remote simultaneous interpreting. which is taking part in in online conferences and providing simultaneous live interpretation.
Yep.
So these conferences typically take a few hours to up to 4 hours. Sometimes I've got all-day conferences as well, so it depends.
Yep.
So if I've got a conference, I'm obviously just locking myself in, closing the windows, and doing the best I can. Sometimes I do translations, not very much, but I've got some direct clients. I provide translations. I also interpret, I also do the so-called public services interpreting, which is mainly in the legal and health center. So that takes place via telephone or Skype or Zoom, Microsoft Teams, or even WhatsApp. So I just use different media to interpret. If I'm not working, I have regular language exchanges with colleagues and friends. Which I
Are they all interpreters as well?
They are interpreters, yes. So they're all interpreters. So I've got my dear friend Francesca, who is based in Rome, but she speaks French like a native. So we're doing a French-English exchange. Francesca English is already excellent. However, she really appreciates being able to improve her English and speak at a higher register. So I help her with that, and she's helping me immensely with my French. Her support has been really invaluable. So we're doing an hour per week French, an hour per week English. So that's already 2 hours. I also have a colleague called Eva, who's Polish, but she speaks really good Spanish. So Eva, I speak Spanish. Like, you know her, yes.
Lives next to me.
Yes, she lives in Yorkshire. And I help her with German because she's keen to learn German and she's making excellent progress.
I remember
mentioning it. So that usually takes place in the morning, sometimes 3 times a week. So that's already a chunk of my morning gone. And my daughter comes back from school at around 3 p.m. You know, sometimes I'm still working, sometimes I'm not working. But for the afternoon, my afternoons are usually devoted to more low-key jobs. I try to do my most important jobs in the morning. So I might just send out some quotes and some more emails, make phone calls. And I also try to go for a jog from time to time. I'm doing some weights to keep strong. And I also really enjoy listening to podcasts in many languages. And in the evening, I like being a couch potato and watching Netflix or reading. However, I've got one more important commitment during my week, and that's French cinema with my former conference interpreting teacher, who is Polish originally, but she spent her whole childhood and adolescence in France. So she's a native French speaker. And my colleague Justina, you know her as well.
Yep.
And we watch French movies together in French, and then we have a discussion about them. So that's an evening schedule. So that's another chunk of my language learning.
Feeds, yes. Sorry to ask, but how long would it last? This, like a cinema thing, the French cinema?
Well, we obviously try not to keep the movies for too long. It would be, I would say, an hour, 40 minutes. Oh, well, I would say an hour, and then we spend maybe half an hour just discussing the movie.
In French?
In French, yes.
Wow. I didn't know Justina had French in her.
She is working on her French at the moment. And again, she's very committed and she's making excellent progress.
Oh, that's fantastic. Hang on. Just we're receiving some comments saying good evening from Fukuoka. Akiko-san, hello. How are you? And okay, Rika-san from don't know where, but hello, I've joined. Thank you. Thank you very much for watching. And if you have any comments or even questions to Kasia, even to both of us, please do not hesitate to do so. And just one caveat for today, because it's Saturday and everybody probably is at home, right? Both in the UK and also in Japan, and the internet might be a bit unstable. So if it does happen for a technical glitch, what we're going to do is try and refresh the screen. And so you might lose us for a few seconds, hopefully not a few minutes. Anyway, so moving on. It was really interesting. So hang on. You've got the regular things like language exchange between French and Italian, but you have to allocate an hour for each language, right?
Yes.
That's an exchange.
Yes, it's an exchange.
Right. Is it, sorry to ask, but if it's okay, is it something to do with the interpret time? Or did you know Francesca from the...
We've got regular assignments in Malta. So I've got a regular client, and we attend conferences 4 times a year in Malta.
Oh,
we've been doing it for 2 or 3 years. I lost count, to be honest.
Right.
So we just got to know each other, and she just wanted to improve her English, and I was keen to improve my French. And obviously we've always been too busy, but then during the COVID crisis, we end up having less jobs, and we just thought, well, at least we can work on our languages and just stay in touch and support each other as well. Sorry
to ask again. Yeah, because I've got many questions about that, actually. When you do have the French session and then Italian session. Italian?
No, it's English.
Italian session. No,
English.
French and English. Sorry, I got it mixed up. I was like juggling all the balls. Sorry. Okay. And you stick to one language, I suppose.
Yes.
But what do you do if you get not lost, but if you get stuck with some phrases or concept or whatever?
It doesn't, well, with Francesca, it doesn't happen because her English is already at a very, very high level. She's just very picky about her English, and she wants to be perfect. So she never gets stuck, really. And my French is good enough. Even if I don't know an expression, I'm able to describe it. So I make a lot of mistakes in French, and my French is not wonderful. But at least I can express myself, and I can convey my message. When I'm doing the German-Spanish exchange, I can't speak Spanish fluently at all, and I get stuck all the time. So then I have to switch. Well, we both speak Polish, so I just switch to Polish and say, I'm going to tell you what I was trying to say.
Okay.
And now please explain the grammatical structure and how to say it in Spanish.
I see. So you do use the third
Yes,
language.
because once you reach a certain level in a language, it's more fun because you can just talk about whatever comes to your mind, and it's more spontaneous, and you benefit more. But of course, you have to reach that level and be at an advanced level.
I get that. I understand. Although I failed again in French, but when I was going to the French lessons, I found my English, was a salvation.
Yes. Yes,
I feel definitely. I was just stuck with English.
I know the feeling, yes.
But I was like, oh my God, my English is much better than French. It comes out. But with French, like that, okay. Question from Mr. Ogura. In what language do you think when you suddenly remembered that you forgot to buy milk walking on the street alone?
I don't really know.
All right.
It's hard to say. The languages I'm using most frequently are English and German. I don't know, probably English because I live in the UK. I live in London, and I've been doing so for a very long time, 25 years. Is that possible? It's 25 years. Oh my God. Yeah. So it would be probably English, especially
you
because
must have been a baby when you moved over.
No, I wasn't. I'm old. I'm old.
No. You're saying you're old to me? To me? Please?
Well, it's been a few years.
I'm ancient now.
It's been a few years since I graduated and left school and things like that. I've been an adult for a long time.
Here's a question. So you've got 5 working languages.
No, 3. I speak 5 languages. Yes.
Because I was looking at these, screens and things. But okay, so sorry about that. Now I'm all ears. So 3 languages. And do you feel comfortable at an equal level with all of them?
Well, no, it changes because even if you've got a mother tongue, if you don't live in the country of your mother tongue, you tend to, the language changes first of all. the language evolves, and if you don't keep up with the living language, you might not be familiar with some youth slang or some familiar expressions. So you really, even your mother tongue or even your very strong languages, you still have to keep up with them. So if I don't go back to Poland often enough, well, I was supposed to go over spring. It didn't happen because of COVID, so I haven't been in a while. So I kind of compensate by listening to loads of podcasts just to remember what Polish actually sounds like.
Right.
Yes. Well, I speak with my daughter, with my parents, obviously, but you know how you speak with your family. It's a more,
colloquial?
Yeah, it's a more colloquial way. And you still have to listen to, let's say, news or more sophisticated language. So, yes, you have to work to keep your level
update it.
You have to update it. I don't think it just happens naturally. If you want to go beyond the colloquial level.
Yeah, I get that. We've got loads of questions now.
Great.
One is that I'm listening in from Tokyo. Thanks for mentioning about. That's my pleasure. Our pleasure. Right? It's great to have the more the merrier. So it's great to have audience here. Kasia-san from Mr. Hayashi, that are you doing interpretation on a spoken basis or on a written basis as well? Both, right?
Both. I definitely prefer interpreting. I also do translation. I just try to keep it quite limited because it's my passion is definitely interpreting, so the spoken language.
Yeah. You might be breaking up. Would you like to repeat that?
Yes, so I do both. However, my passion is definitely the spoken language, but I do provide written translation as well.
Any fields, basically, or?
Well, the fields I specialize in, it's reproductive medicine and fertility.
Okay.
So I wouldn't call myself a medical translator. I just happen to know this one field within medicine. And then I do a lot of social media as well. So translation, creative translation for Facebook and Instagram. So it's short, sweet, and creative.
We worked on the same project the other day, didn't we?
Yes, that's true.
I really enjoyed it. It had been such a long time since I did that kind, that field.
I enjoyed it as well. Yes, because it was quite short. You just had to think of a good quirky expression. I enjoy this kind of work.
Oh yes. I did a lot of research and doing the copywriting.
Yes.
Very much. So it was a good brain exercise. So did we do the second question? What was
Not yet.
No, we haven't. Oh, I swear. I'm so sorry. Yes, you didn't hear it. Nobody heard it.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
No.
So what was your first foreign language to learn?
I actually had this conversation with my daughter, who was very surprised to learn, because she's bilingual, that until I was 11 years old, I was monolingual. I lived in Poland. It was still during communism, and the only language I could speak was Polish exclusively. And then I moved with my parents to Germany, and when I was 11, I had to learn German from scratch. From zero, basically.
It must have been challenging, no?
It was very tough and challenging, but I think many kids, young adults and adults experience this. They just either move voluntarily or involuntarily to a different country, and you just basically, you have to learn that language to be able to communicate and survive. So I did my entire secondary school education in Germany. So that's why I consider German actually as my mother tongue. And then I really wanted to move to London and study at university in the UK. So my university education was in English, but to go back to the languages and which languages I learned in which order. So it was Polish, then German. And then when I went to school in Germany, my first language was Latin. Because I went to a traditional school and we all started with Latin. No one at the moment, but that was my favorite subject. I was really into Roman history and the Roman civilization. I still really love Roman ruins and museums. I don't remember any Latin. It's kind of lost. However, it has really helped me with my language learning further on. So after Latin, my next language was English. And because we've already had one foreign language.
Subconscious level, isn't
yes,
it? I think.
Absolutely, yes, you're right. And because English was our second foreign language at school, the pace was really fast and was really fun. So I really enjoyed learning it. And then I added French and Spanish at school. Spanish was the last language to add. And at that time, I was kind of a moody, lazy teenager. So I didn't really study Spanish very hard. And it really, really shows now because my grammar is appalling. So I regret
it. I doubt it. I think you are humble to say that.
No, not really. No, it's really... my Spanish is not very good. And I studied it for 3 years at school. So it should be much better. But I was just very lazy and I just... turned up and had fun, but I didn't really study hard.
Oh, wow. So Spanish as well. So that leads us to question number 3. How do you stay motivated and keep multiple languages up to speed? Because you're a professional, not just, studying it as a part of hobby. Yeah.
Yes. So first of all, I think there is a distinction between my working languages, which is Polish, German, and English, and they have to be at a good level. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to do my job.
Yeah.
So I just make sure I build good habits and a good routine. So, for example, I read and listen to articles on media and books in all 3 languages. So they're just part of my daily routine. I've mentioned I really like podcasts, so I listen to loads of podcasts Can you hear me?
I think you might be. Yeah. Do you want to repeat that, please?
Sure. Yeah. So I listen to loads of podcasts in many different languages. I also read books in all different languages. And I also, of course, I build my glossaries with specialist language from my conference work. And then French and Spanish, that's my hobby. And I'm very relaxed about it. And if I will never be able to use these languages professionally, that's absolutely fine. I just really enjoy the process. So I've got a more relaxed approach. However, I think what's really, really important with language is to do little and often. So ideally, if you're adding a new language, you have to do something every day. So just make it part of your day. And just make sure you're doing something with that language every single day.
I think this question is relevant to what we've been discussing. Well, you're telling us that how do you learn multiple languages at the same time? I had been in China and can speak Chinese, but I don't think it is easy to study 2 languages, but at the same time. Right. This is exactly what we're saying.
Yes.
What you say is like, okay, you have to pay attention to each and every language, but almost at the same time. Right. And then you have to do a little bit at a time.
Yes.
Like every day. But like, a little bit, is it like 5 minutes or 50 minutes? Or we've only got 24 hours a day?
Yes, I mean, this is the big question. Well, as I said, English, Polish, and German, I work with these languages. They're part of my family, my work life. So in a way, I don't have to try very hard to be exposed to these languages because I've got my conferences and I have to read and listen and speak in these languages.
That itself serves as
and it really depends. If you're really focusing on the language and you want to achieve mastery, I think then it's really best to focus on one language, do a language course, read in that language, try to immerse yourself as much as possible and really focus on it and work hard. And I'm just too old and too lazy to do that. So it's my French and Spanish. If I had to quantify how much time I spent, maybe it would be half an hour max per day. And I learned Spanish with the Duolingo application. So that doesn't take, sometimes I do it for half an hour, sometimes do it for 5 minutes, depends. But I do it every day. So if I'm really busy, I just do it for 5 minutes before I go to bed, but I do it. So I just make sure I do it. And also podcasts. So I'm not able to clean my flat or to do anything really boring because I've got a very short attention span. So I have to listen to something. So basically, I listen to podcasts from morning till evening. My family gets a bit annoyed about it. But
You mean on speakerphone?
Yes, on speakerphone. So they get annoyed about it.
Okay.
Sometimes on my headphones, if
but you want to take a rest from that headphone environment, right?
Exactly. So I just listen a lot, and I also enjoy reading. So if I read a book in French, which hasn't happened very often, but it has happened, then it's not really it's not really a chore. It's a pleasure for me as well. So I don't really have to push myself too hard to do it. However, if I really wanted to progress fast, I would have to study more grammar, do exercises, maybe set some exams, and I just don't feel like it. It's just my hobby, and I've got a more relaxed approach to it. So that's why I can combine many languages together. If I wanted to go deeper, then
combine many languages together.
Well, no, I mean, at the moment, I'm just learning French and Spanish. But already with French, I would say I'm advanced. With Spanish, I'm intermediate. So I'm not starting a language from scratch. So I've been learning these languages for a long time with breaks. And now I'm just building on my knowledge base. I'm building on what I already know. So I think that's a difference as well. I don't think I would start 2 languages from scratch at the same time. I wouldn't be able to do that.
I see. Oh my God. I have many more questions, but
great.
there are questions coming up as well. So from Akiko-san, she's an interpreter. It was okay to say yes, to disclose that. Akiko-san, yes. I'm really interested. How did you learn multi-languages? Do you have a secret? Any common keys to open the doors? Unlocking words.
Yeah, that's the name of my company.
That really coins nicely. I mean, do you have any master key to any language? Yes.
As anything, learning is very individual, and we all have different routines. But as I said, I started actually learning all of my languages at school at a young age. I haven't continued with all of them continuously. But I think consistency. I think the master key is consistency and doing little every day and making
That's the hardest to come by about anything.
Yes, and making it part of your routine. It's just like asking someone, how do you run a marathon? If you just turn up and try to run it, you will collapse. So you have to build up to it, and you have to do a little every day, and I think you have to enjoy it as well. And immersion, basically, obviously it's good to listen to the language, to try and speak it via language exchange, and also to read it.
Sorry, I must ask these questions. So 3 questions from me. Sorry, audience, is that all right? I'm sure it is going to be very relevant. Yes, you're saying hurry up. Yes, I get that. So first, you've only got 24 hours a day, right? You have to sleep as well. And then there are days off.
Yes.
Let's say, 24 hours is yours. But other times that if you were right before the conference, the remote but simultaneous interpreting, and then it's quite tense, right?
Yes.
And you can't, obviously, I can't imagine myself squeezing like 5 minutes of Italian or Spanish or something like that before this assignment. That kind of thing. When you've got assignment on the day, how do you squeeze these little things, exercises in, and then motivate yourself? Because I wouldn't be in that kind of frame of mind.
Yes, I mean, obviously, if I've got a language exchange schedule in the morning and I've got a conference, I have to cancel because work comes first. However, after I'm done with my conference, I think what I'm quite good at is just to switch off. Once the job is done, it's done. And then I can just move on. And obviously, I'm not practicing all 5 languages every day, one after the other. I think I would go crazy. I mean, that doesn't work. At the moment, I'm really into Polish podcasts. So I'm just listening to loads of content.
Yeah.
And I had a French phase where I was listening to loads of French podcasts. And I do have a routine, so I just make sure I do it consistently. However, I really go by what is my interest and what I'm enjoying listening or reading at the moment, and I just go with it. Because if you're just naturally drawn to something, if you don't have to force yourself and rely on your discipline, on your self-discipline, then you're able to keep up more easily. Because we're all tired, as you said, we work a lot. We only have 24 hours. And if you had to force yourself constantly, that wouldn't be possible. I just had I'm really interested in travel. So I like listening to German travel podcasts a lot as well. And if I just get into it, if I get into a topic, I just listen to this topic till I get bored, and then I move to something else. So it really depends. What I used to do a lot, actually, when I was still physically traveling to conferences, I would get up and let's say I was working in the German booth. So I would get up in my hotel room, make myself a cup of coffee, if there was such a possibility. And while I was getting ready, I would put on the news in German, either on television or on my mobile phone, and just listening. Well, it's important because maybe something happened overnight.
Yeah, it's true.
Like
you might talk about it. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. When it happened, for example, when there were the last American elections, I was actually on the job, and I woke up in the morning and I found out who won. So yes, it is quite relevant.
I was in Japan at the time, and then
I was in Dublin. I still remember where I was. So, and obviously, this is very likely to come up. So it's good for you to know what's happening in the news, and it's good to listen how people are talking about in your target language, because I'm exposed to English media all the time, but I don't have. I've got a radio in the kitchen. When I press the button, it's English, which is coming out. It's not German or Polish or French. So I just have to seek out these possibilities to be exposed to content in different languages.
That's so true. Like, it's something that you can press and immediately comes on. You don't have to fiddle with things like clicking on it and tapping on this and all that. It's just immediate. Yeah, that's a key, isn't it? That's one of the keys, I suppose. Okay, question from Mr. Ogurat. What word, phrase, etc. did you find the most difficult in interpreting as a professional?
Well, jokes.
Oh yeah,
idioms. For example,
poetry.
Yes,
poetry.
Oh my God! No, you can't prepare for it. If someone just decides to use an idiom, for example, it's raining cats and dogs. Well, that's quite an easy one, but there's some trickier ones.
Yeah.
And you just think. You just really have to think on your feet, and sometimes you come up with a really neat solution, sometimes you don't, and you just have to move on. And jokes are just notoriously difficult because they don't always translate.
No.
Or they're not necessarily funny. They don't work with every culture. So yeah.
The sexual jokes.
That's not very nice either. It's not very funny. It's not appropriate either in most contexts. So
yes. I don't know, but it's just, it feels like, if it's kind of fast paced, then there's no time to really think and then formulate. And
I just changed my tone of voice just to indicate it's change of register, change of topic, but it doesn't happen very often. Well, it only happened once actually, so yeah, it's fine.
But what makes it more difficult is when people are laughing so hard, and of course your audience would like to know what's going on, right?
Well, I've never been in a situation where the joke or remark was so hilarious that everyone laughed. It was mostly the case that the speaker thought this was hilarious. But it wasn't. It was usually a he actually, and he laughed, and no one else really laughed. So no, I've never been in a situation where the audience cracked up. No.
Yeah, not like that. I see. Okay. That's very interesting. Any other questions, everyone? I think we're past the time, but did we do the number 4 question? Number 4? We haven't. Okay. Yes. So are there any radio, TV programs or learning materials that you subscribe to or regularly use? Yes, we already talked about the podcast, but
Yes,
if you're
yes.
happy to name
Yeah.
a few.
So there are loads of programs you can pay for. At the moment, I've decided not to take out any subscriptions, and I just stick to Duolingo. Duolingo is an application for your phone, and that's what I use every single day for my Spanish, and it works
Right.
really well for me.
It motivates you too.
It
It's
motivates
fun.
me to
Oh,
keep
okay.
it up. Yes. And as I said, I'm not like that serious about speaking amazing Spanish. I just want to be able to communicate more easily. And also loads of podcasts. In terms of podcasts, in terms of French, the best podcast to learn French at advanced level is France Culture. But you have to have quite advanced level. I don't always understand every single detail, but these are basically news aimed at native speakers. So you definitely learn a lot. There is another podcast I really like, which is done by a Scottish guy. It's called Coffee Break in French and Spanish.
I know that one.
And that's intermediate.
Right.
And I really like this guy's voice and the approach.
Very strong accented program. It's very good to brush up our English listening as well.
Yes, and it's excellent,
language.
especially at intermediate level, because he reads a story is being read, and then you just listen, but then you go back and he picks up on some expressions or explains some grammatical points. I find it very, very useful, and I really like these two podcasts. He's got a version for advanced French as well, which is also excellent. I also listen to I'm Polyglot, which is also in French. It's done by a French guy, and he speaks. I really like it because I understand everything. He speaks more slowly. It's for French people
high
and
level,
language learners. Yes, it's high level, but it's very but it's very approachable. And he talks a lot about language learning as well, because he's fluent in Spanish and English, and I think he's also a language teacher. So I really like his podcast. There's also a podcast in English called The Fluent Show, which is done by a German teacher, and she speaks a lot about language learning, and she recommends loads of applications, loads of language learning programs, lots of books.
Wow.
Everything you want to know about language learning, go to The Fluent Show. That's a podcast, and it's a great resource for language learning.
Yeah. It was breaking up. Well, thank you very much for all the names.
Yes, and I also I'm really into travel, so I listen to a lot of travel podcasts as well.
So it seems like the idea of traveling to the destination, with the target language really motivates you. Is that how you envisage yourself immersed in that situation, or
that as well?
Is that how you motivate it?
Yes, because then you can really test your language skills. And if you go somewhere, let's say in France and Spain, and people don't immediately switch to English when you open your mouth, you think, okay, my language skills are good enough for them to be comfortable speaking to me. So that's a big compliment if people are willing to speak in their own language to me.
True. Oh wow, that's very good as a takeaway, because I personally was kind of struggling to motivate myself. It was more like switching my mind from a really like a pressure cooker kind of environment, even at home, working from home. But if you are in a conference situation, then you were like go kind of adrenaline and everything.
Yes.
And then it was difficult for me to switch it off, and then jolly Spanish learning mode or something. I just couldn't do it. But
I relax by listening, so I think I found it incredibly relaxing to watch something or to listen to something. I used to be a great reader. I read less, I have to admit, but I read so much in preparation for my conferences.
You do, yeah.
So I read
I'm
less
sure
for pleasure, which is a great loss. But I have to admit that's the case.
I see.
Yeah.
My new shredder, cross shredder, has arrived today. So well, it felt like,
Yes.
I better start eating these paper
Yes.
kind of thing,
Yes.
right? Because we have to have this much.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
documents at the time.
like reading while moving. So while being on a plane or a train or mode of transport, that's when I usually read. And I don't travel now at all. So I just read less. So that's a little bit of a loss.
I see.
But I watch a lot of Netflix. Netflix is just fantastic for language learning because you've got a lot of foreign language films.
Yeah.
And you can watch them with subtitles. So, for example, you can listen in French with French subtitles. So you remove your let's say your English or your native language completely, and you just read and listen to in French, just to be able to see the expressions they use and understand the grammar.
Yeah.
Or you can just listen in French with English subtitles. So just to make sure you understand everything and you follow. So that's absolutely fantastic. They've got, they've got languages, they've got films of different genres from all over the world. So Netflix is just fantastic these days.
Yes, of course. I think we're going to wrap up now, everyone. Do you have the burning last question? If you do, just please be a bit, quick and type it up. If you do. そう、チャンネル登録と高評価もお願いします。Thumbs up, please, and register and sign up for the channel. Subscribe. Yes, not sign up, but subscribe, sorry. Any burning question? Because we're going. Kasia is going. Anything?
If you've got any questions, you're always welcome to contact me. So I'm really into learning languages and helping others to learn.
Yeah, obviously. No, we all can see that. That's fantastic. Hats off to you, Kasia. Wonderful. It was really, really, really great fun to have Kasia here, and it was a pleasure and privilege to us all.
Thank you for inviting me. I really enjoyed myself. Fantastic.
Thank you for your enthusiasm. Thank you very much. And I hope to have a second round, maybe about something else, or maybe on languages again, but culture and other things. And then actually, Kasia does a lot of rock climbing, yes?
Well, used to at beginner level, but now climbing centers are closed. So when they reopen, I'll
people are saying that. Thank you very much. And sorry not being able to comment because I am signing in on the tablet. So yeah, some people. Anyway, it was fantastic. Thank you very much, Kasia, and have a great afternoon.
Yes, I will. I'm going for a picnic now.
Oh, fantastic!
I hope it's not going to rain. I just want to be outside.
Yeah. Should be okay for the next few days at least. Yes, fingers crossed.
Yes.
So everyone, thank you very much for watching. And next week, Richard is going to be on. We'll be talking about what we used to know, I used to know that English, like stuff you forgot from school kind of thing. Oh, yeah. Okay, great. Thank you very much, Kasia. And I'm going to love you and leave you. And see you around.
See you soon, hopefully.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
There's a comment. Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye.